The title of the article in the Washington Post, it's not a good one for Sam Howell. It's Sam Howell's numbers aren't mediocre, they're bad. And he goes to something that I'm not that familiar with, EPA. He says, with Howell under center, Washington's passing offense is scoring about 5 fewer points per game than you would expect based on the down, distance, and field position of each dropback per data from True Media. That is the second worst performance from a Washington starting quarterback through the first 7 weeks of a season since 2002. Trailing only Dwayne Haskins' 2020 campaign. Howell ranks 25th in EPA expected points added per game among qualified quarterbacks in 2023. That ain't good. Carson Wentz last year was a 4.8 in expected points added. It is actually expected points subtracted. Sam Howell's 4.9. So his performance has been very much like Carson Wentz according to this metric. They look at yards per attempt, interception percentage, and sack percentage.
Well, the sack percentage has got to be crushing him.
Mm-hmm. True Media estimates that the sacks of Howell have cost Washington more than 8 points per game, the worst figure among any starting quarterback this season. We all know he's on pace to shatter the NFL record. So this was kind of an analytical deep dive into Sam Howell. And look, I don't think he's going to get benched. That's where I kind of changed my opinion. I think they're going to ride it out with Sam Howell, and they'll see if he can fix some of these situations. But if after 17 games these numbers are similar, you can't move on with him as a starting quarterback.
If you're starting every game in an 8-point hole, which is basically what that is saying, you can't win games enough to get to the playoffs in the NFL like that.
The coaching staff has to have an analytics guy. I'm sure every team does that kind of points this out. Now
they should have multiple.
Yeah, so they can go and Rivera and Bieniemy can see these numbers.
Right.
Now I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing they do. Some of those numbers are surprising because we just that's a lot of that's over my head. I just based it on the eye test. Now he's not blaming all of the sacks on Howell. I mean, some of that's certainly on the offensive line.
No, but when you look at Sam Fortier's article from the Washington Post in, I think it was late September, it pointed out, though, it's just percentages. So under pressure, he's getting sacked more than anybody else in the NFL.
Right.
So if you took everybody's just their pressures, not just their dropbacks, just the times they're pressured, his sack percentage is way higher, where other guys either throw the ball away or they escape the pressure or they avoid it. That's part of the equation. So those are some disturbing numbers. Then you look at the interceptions, and it is skewed by the Buffalo game where he had 4 interceptions. But right now, in turnover-worthy plays, which is Pro Football Focus's stat, he's tied for the 4th most in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
My counter to it is, and I think all those things are valid, my counter to it is when you look at the more traditional stats, which are in this article at the end. Okay, going into the season, we said if Howell could be the 15th to 20th, that's a damn good debut for a kid with 1 career start.
Yep.
And so in quarterback rating, which I know is an antiquated metric, and I don't put a lot of stock in it, he's 18th. Completion percentage, he's 19th. Yards per attempt, he's 21st. So that's just right in that realm. Touchdown attempt per attempt, he's 18th. Interception, even with the 4 interceptions, interceptions per attempt, he's 22nd, so slightly worse. The one that's killing him, and it's bringing all of those numbers down, is the sack percentage, and that's where he's 31st. He's on pace for the most sacks in history. Everyone understands that has to be fixed.
Got to change.
You can largely blame it on Sam if you want. I argue that if you bolster the offensive line and you allow him to learn and you scheme around it, you could dramatically drop that number. I bet you could cut that number close to in half. So we'll see. If the sack percentage continues at that rate, he won't continue to be quarterback.
Let me ask you this.
Simple. But my eye test tells me, other than the sack issue, he could definitely do this job.
Look, and a lot of fans agree with you.
Yeah. But he's got to get it better at it.
But the guys who look at the game a little differently and more in depth obviously feel different. But let me ask you this as a Commanders fan and as a Howell fan. If the Eagles are up, 20-3 at half and they have a similar first half as they had last week against the Giants? Are you opposed to just saying, all right, we've got to get Brissett in there?
I mean, you could go ahead and knock yourself out.
No, I'm asking you.
I would
you
not
okay
be
with that?
lobbying for that.
Okay.
I'm not lobbying for that. I would like to see Hal given as
Battle
much
through
rope
it.
as possible and battle through it, because this season is not about. I mean, I know to Doc it is, and to B Mitch, and
To Ron, it's
to
about
everyone,
winning games.
To everyone, it's to get to the playoffs. Is whatever it takes, and I'm typically that way. But to me, this season is about, do we have the quarterback or not? And if you've already decided 7 games in, we don't, then sure, play Brissett. I still see enough in there that I want to work with, that I want to keep playing Hal. And I want to see if he can, even with probably no upgrades on the offensive line, but hopefully with some scheme change and some of him changing, that he can reduce that.
I'm just guessing
fatal
here.
flaw.
I'm just guessing here, but they're probably questioning that. If they're questioning if they have their guy.
No question.
So I'm saying
They have to.
and I wouldn't.
But he does a lot of good things.
I know.
Yeah.
Look, he's not.
He also does a lot of bad things.
He's not an F every week.
What's the lot? I think he does one bad thing.
Holds onto the ball too long.
That's the one bad thing.
Well, it's a pretty fatal flaw.
Well, it leads to
Understood
some of
if
these.
it doesn't get better. But so would you just throw it? Would you just give up on the experiment?
No, but what
What
I,
if I
Cakes,
give,
on them
like,
asking
at halftime?
No. But like in general, are you over it?
To me, it's about Ron trying to get enough wins to survive into his next year, and whether it's
That's
Sam
Ron's
Howell
objective.
or whether it's Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett, it doesn't matter. Ron is in the business of trying to win enough games.
I agree with you.
Can I answer
I
it, too?
agree with you, but from a command in a second, from
I
a
just think
commander's
that
perspective,
there's not that much difference between Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell, unless Sam Howell improves and gets rid of his holding onto the ball too long gene.
I don't think Brissett would get sacked at that rate.
No.
No
I don't
way.
think
He never
either.
has in his career.
But I also don't
So-
think he's capable
Maybe
of
not,
making
maybe
some
not.
of the throws that Sam's capable of making.
For me, if you're asking me that question, the answer is Hal's got to get significantly better from here on out to have a legitimate shot at next year. But I will say this: if that does occur, the scenario I threw out to you, they're down big in the half, and he's got sacked 4 or 5 times. They have to go to Brissett for the second half.
To just not lose the team.
You just got to show a different look.
I just put up the
That would
Junkies
be-
poll of the day.
I think they
That
just
would be my guess.
I think they have to coach better.
I just put up the Junkies poll
And
of
the
the
offensive
day,
line has to play better.
brought to you by Van Meter Homes, and we can
But I think they
open
are
up
what
the
they
phone
are.
lines at 800-636-1067. Based on what you just heard, Neil Greenberg's article, where are you at with Sam Howell as the Commanders' quarterback of the future? 3 options. He's the guy, not sure, or he's not the guy. Kind of believe when you just read this article, they believe he's not the guy. Now, in the article, Greenberg points out Rivera gets part of the blame. Bieniemy gets part of the blame. Do you realize they've passed the ball, part of it circumstance, more than any other team in the NFL except for the Vikings?
Which does not help him.
No,
That's
it
not
does
good.
not help him. That's
Does
what I've
not
been
help
saying.
him.
I was saying you got to be a little more balanced, and I'm not a super like run heavy guy, but when you have a quarterback and an offensive line like the Commanders have, I do think running the football, even if it's not super effective, just to keep the defense off balance is helpful.
I understand that. In a perfect world, you would like to have a balance. I just don't. I understand why they don't. Because they've largely been behind most of these games. The question I would have for Neil and everyone else is, you're basically, because I throw out, even though it's a trend in college, I throw that out because when I talk about touchdown interception ratios and stuff in college, you guys throw that out. So I'm going to throw out his sacks in college. This is a 7-game sample size. If you are of the mindset that you can determine a quarterback is the guy or not the guy in 7 games, okay. I'm going to give him more than 7 games before I decide that.
I'll give a first-round pick who's drafted number 1 with a serious pedigree a lot more rope than a 5th-round pick, and that's just the reality because
That's a different
The
issue.
scouts in the
That's a
league-
different issue.
No, but it's legitimate.
yeah.
No, I know.
And that's going to be his
It's
problem
legitimate.
is if there's a new coach,
That's
which we
just-
all
you're
think there's
just-
going to
you're-
be, he's probably not going to be given the opportunity unless he wows the rest of the way. If he ends up with this type of
I
season,
stipulate to that.
he's not going to be the guy, and he's just going to be.
If a new coach comes in and he's 31st in sack percentage, yeah, they're going to move
Yeah, he'll
on.
be
Look,
a cheap backup.
And
to start
Eric,
the
a
year.
lot of people feel the same way you do, and they watch the game and go, offensive line's terrible, and they blame the offensive line.
No. I blame everyone.
Okay, but a lot of fans just say if he had a better line, he'd be much better.
There's no doubt he'd be better with a better line.
They've got to get him more time.
There's also no doubt he'd be better if they schemed up better around it and stopped having such deep drops,
Right.
and did more quicker developing plays, move the pocket,
Right.
more play action.
But
There's things they can do.
But the sports nerds of the world dive into each play way more than you and I and fans do, and they look at those numbers. And
I know,
they
but
say,
those numbers aren't God's gift to
no,
the
of course
earth.
not. It's eye of the beholder. I know
Those are
that.
just one.
Plus,
those are
you
just
can,
one.
to be honest, you can probably find any number that supports whatever argument
Correct.
you
Right.
have.
Correct.
How many?
Right.
How many good games do you think he's had? I think he's had probably 2 good games
I have to look
out of
at it.
7.
I'd have to
Like, is
look.
that enough?
I can't remember
I'd have
that
to look
Howell
at it.
eval grades.
To me, the eye test is.
I think
he's
I gave
got
him an A
pretty
and
much
2.
everything down except this one. We all agree fatal flaw he's got to improve on, but they can help him with that. And in my opinion, they haven't helped him nearly enough. And so I
definitely think
all
they
the
can
other
help him with that.
things.
But I'm not convinced, like the turnover-worthy plays, and you could say, well, 4 interceptions against Buffalo. I'm not convinced that that's not going to be part of his ultimate resume. Like, he did have 3 touchdown passes against Atlanta, but if you look at it, they were little dinky screen passes. Like, he hasn't overwhelmed me in games. Like, he makes some nice throws, and I do think he's done enough to see it out. All right, I'm not clamoring for Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah,
I'm kind of on the fence with him, but I think out of my 7 grades, and maybe we should have tracked the grades, I think only 2 have been A's.
I just feel like Ron's roster building, which
I think
he
I gave him a
loves to
B
tout,
once.
Yeah, so probably 3
how
good
do you
games.
how do you not upgrade the offensive line more for a young quarterback trying to find his way?
They thought they did.
It's just organizational
They thought they
malpractice
did.
by.
They
They
thought
thought
they
they
did.
did, Cakes, and they messed
Well,
up.
yeah, they
They
screwed it
signed
up
the
entirely.
first signings in free agency.
They made
Essentially,
bad decisions.
were
Yeah.
Gates and Wiley, and both
Yep.
those guys
and
have
it's
disappointed.
It's dooming Sam Howell and his development.
That's
That's
true.
what has happened.
I agree.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll go to your calls next on the MGM National Harbor listener lines.
And I want to make one last point before we go to the callers, and everyone can bail on them and do whatever they want to do.
He is so
My
good.
point on the offensive line, it's like again, I hate how people passively listen or they hear what they want to hear. I hate that. Someone's tweeting me, don't just blame Bieniemy and the offensive line for the sacks because half are on. I'm not just blaming the offensive line and Bieniemy for the sacks. Of course, Sam is a massive part of it. What percentage of it? I don't know. But I also know this. Everyone agrees in the first half of the last game when he was sacked 5 times that Bieniemy did not scheme around it properly, did not adjust. And what happened in the second half? He made more adjustments. He moved the pocket, right? He added offensive linemen. He did quicker developing plays. And what happened? He was sacked once in the second half. Do we think that Wink Martindale in the second half backed off? He did not. He blitzed on almost 60% of the plays throughout the game. You can scheme around this issue, and that's what I'm trying to say. I agree. Howell has a problem here. No doubt. But they're not helping him out as well as they
and you
could.
also question Bieniemy, like, why wasn't that the scheme from the first play of the game?
Exactly. That's
Like,
my point.
What are you doing all week? You know
Exactly.
you know the Giants are coming after Sam Howell.
Right.
You know what their game plan is. So counter it from the first play of the game. Don't wait till halftime when your guys get beaten up and throttled.
No, they did the minimum in the first half. I don't know anything about football. I'll be the first to admit it. Okay, other than I'm a fan, I watch it, and I'm dedicated to this team. They had a running back chipping early on. They thought that was good enough.
Well,
and
clearly
they
wasn't.
Exactly. and they thought that will do it. Or they had an extra tight end, and it wasn't
Yeah,
good
they got to get better.
Here's what I don't
wasn't
know,
no
though.
doubt.
enough.
All
and
the
then
way
they
around, they
did
gotta
more
get better.
things.
But
they
EB.
schemed better. They helped out more, and he was only sacked once.
Here's what you don't know, and I don't know it either. Many quarterbacks, based on what they see at the line, are supposed to set up their linemen in certain ways. And maybe he's not doing it. Maybe he's not given the ability to it. I know you questioned a few weeks ago whether they give him the ability to audible. We don't know. We're not inside the meetings, so we don't know. But that may be something that he's not seeing. Like, he may not be seeing the blitzers coming from here. I need to change the call to this. Let's go to the phones, 800-636-1067. But I will say, it does seem the How Hive or the Howlers, they are dug in, entrenched, and they don't want to hear the statistics.
I know. They're like
Because
pickle.
we've been – well, no, I hear all the statistics. I say they're valid.
Yeah.
But I'm also giving you a counter.
You're giving them a more of a chance than a lot of people. Yeah.
I don't know. All right, let's go to PJ in Reston. PJ, what's up? I thought I pressed it.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. Sorry. Start over. Sorry.
No, all good. Hey, it's a privilege to be on the air, so I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, buddy.
So
I like that
all
respect.
you guys make. Thank you. I think all you guys make like really awesome points. As far as Sam Howell, I gotta say I think EB's kind of really been the most accurate one. So the QBR and quarterback rating, right? I know that QBR came out after quarterback rating. It's a little bit of a hipster stat. It's got some great things to it. But I honestly believe, and I brought this up on Grant and Danny, and Grant said I had a point. I honestly believe that QBR is the more intelligent stat. I mean, QB rating is the more intelligent stat than
Why?
QBR. Because QBR has 3 or 4 things in it that could be the quarterback's fault, but could not. And there's no nuance. So, for example, if a quarterback gets sacked 8 times and he has 0 offensive linemen and it's like completely offensive lineman's fault, QBR will never reflect that.
All right, but his passer rating, okay, let's stipulate to that. His passer rating's an 85 this season.
Yeah, but in
The
four
old
games,
school rating.
It's been 98 or better. In
Okay,
4
so that
games-
tells you in
Is that
3
great?
games it's been nubs.
Right. So
that's
you
what I
said
was
he's
saying,
done-
going back to the
you
good
said
games.
He's played 2 good games. If
2
you base
good
it-
games, yes.
Okay,
I think he's played a couple of okay
I'd say
games.
if you have a quarterback rating of 98, I would stipulate that's probably a decent game. Probably a decent game.
I don't
As
give
flawed
him.
as the
I don't give him a
statistic
decent
is.
game against the Bears. I'm sorry. I don't give him a decent game against. I think
He
you
didn't
gave him
give
a
up
D.
40.
The Bears game.
He didn't give up 40.
EB. The Bears game. He had a 99.1. It was garbage. They were terrible in the first half. You did not give him a good grade against the Bears.
You
all
have
right.
to go to the
probably-
tape. I think I probably gave
Probably
him
give
a
him a
C.
C.
Could I add something real quick if possible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, for example, in the Bears game, he was sacked 6 times. No, I'm not saying Sam Howell's playing perfect. That would be really silly
He's
of me to
not.
say,
He's
right?
not.
But
If you
he's not
said
playing
that, we'd
perfect
hang
at
up
all.
on you. All right,
I know. I'm smart enough not to say that.
Quick, you got
But,
15
for example,
seconds.
Okay, so he gets sacked 6 times in that Giants game, right? But those 5 first half sacks, those are not every sack all year, but those sacks were not really his fault. Those were like the Giants, on the Giants. And we were supposed to they said the Giants had the worst offensive line. Our vaunted defensive front really could. I mean, they had a good game, but we were killed more by the Giants defensive line. We've basically got the worst offensive line.
Yeah,
And
thank you,
Deanna-
PJ. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not going to get easier with the
Now you're
Eagles
going
coming
on to the
town.
defense and all those
All right.
issues. We got issues everywhere.
Let's hit some more.
Let's go to Judd in Alexandria. Judd, what's up, man? You're on with the Junkies.
Hey, Judd.
Hi. My main point to consider is Bieniemy. I was just watching the Giants game, and I gave up after the first few plays of the second half because he hadn't switched off and accounted for throwing short passes, quick passes, anything like that. It's in my judgment, that game was entirely on Bieniemy. I wondered if he even noticed what was going on. It was pathetic.
Right. All right. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
you
Judd.
hadn't mentioned that in before the break. You did just now, and I appreciate it. I'm glad. That's what motivated me to call in to get you guys discussing Bieniemy.
Well, we've been discussing it.
Bieniemy,
No
if you
doubt.
listen to this show daily, Bieniemy has been a discussion.
He's a hot topic.
Believe me.
It's a system-wide kind of breakdown, but the quarterback is always at the top of the list.
Sure.
They're always
He's
at
going
the
to
top
get the
of the
most
list.
scrutiny every
Yes.
single week.
Cool.
All right,
We had a
let's-
poll earlier this week who gets the most blame, and it had 4 choices: offensive line, Howell, Bieniemy, and Ron Rivera.
I
Hanks puts 90%
I
on
like
Ron
to
Rivera.
overblame Ron. That's kind of my thing.
Well, the
it's kind
fan
of my
base does.
specialty.
The fan base
Yeah.
does, right? Didn't they agree with him?
Well, yeah, the fan base, they almost any poll is going to be positive on Bieniemy and positive on Howell.
Bieniemy walks on water still, and some people.
And Howell is a
They
little
should
bit
both
like that
be
too.
negative. Should be negative on Ron and negative so far on Bieniemy. Bieniemy so far is Scott Turner part 2.
So no,
Maybe not even as good.
Bieniemy is a dud.
Like
so far.
Like he's got 10 more games to prove himself.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be
He's not
asking,
helping.
why am I not getting head coaching gigs? And they're going to look at your tape here with Washington. And that's why.
This might be the worst career decision in all of NFL.
I said it the moment he took the job. I said, I support it because why not?
Mm-hmm.
But I said, why would he take it? Go to the tape. And in fact, I said, remember, I went on Twitter. I think I said something like, I did like a mad dog. Like, I'll quit if he comes here or something. Like, no way he'll come. Why would you come here? This would be the last place I would come.
Because he's desperate.
Why would you come here? We
but
got
you
no
know what?
line. We got no quarterback. Why the hell would
That's
you
all
come
true.
here?
But we don't know everything. We don't know everything.
I'll say this.
We don't know if Andy Reid was saying, please stay. We have no idea.
No.
And he got a pay raise. He probably got a pay raise.
Jason, but still globally, why would you come here?
Just to defend him a little bit,
He had confidence.
I saw a little of Logan Paulson, who's really good at looking at the film.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be defending Bieniemy a little bit on some of the
People
calls.
are all over the place.
Just looking at play-by-play.
I'm sure that Bieniemy has drawn up the plays.
I think he
that
showed
Sam
one play.
screwed up.
I think
no doubt.
this wasn't even a Sam, but he showed one play where they literally faced a stunt, okay, from the defensive lineman, and it appeared 3 linemen in place, and they all missed the stunter who just went right around them towards
That
Sam
goes
Howell.
into their personnel
Yeah,
decisions.
that's what
I know what you're talking about. That's like it happened like in the second play of the game.
When
It
you
was
have the 30th
embarrassing.
When you have the 30th to 32nd ranked offensive line, that's what they're going to do. They're going to miss blocks. They're going to let guys get free runs at your quarterback.
But they're not ranked that low in a lot of analytics.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
you know what? Sometimes,
But when you watch him,
guy, sometimes the
would you
analytics
agree with
lie.
that? When you watch him, would you agree with that?
Are they the 30th ranked offensive
When you
line?
watch
I don't
them
know. In
each week.
pass blocking. The problem is it's complicated because part of it is on the quarterback and
Yeah,
part of it
I
is on the
agree.
offensive coordinator. They pass all the time.
But just when you watch it, just as a NFL fan.
say
No, they don't
they're
look
hot
good.
Garbage.
Nick
They don't look
Gates.
good.
I would
Nick
say they're
Gates.
hot garbage.
I said this.
So when PFF only ranks them 15 or 14,
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
I
either.
said this the other
'Cause my
day.
eyes say a lot worse than that.
when we all watch NFL games, we never notice a center unless they make it a point of pointing
Right.
out the center,
Unless they're
pulling,
over-snapping the
like
ball.
if you watch, they'll show Jason Kelsey, like,
Right.
look how amazing his feet are, and he comes out and he makes an amazing
The only
block.
guy
Right?
I know that
You never notice that.
that follows centers is Mitch Tischler.
Right. But you generally don't notice them.
He's a big fan. He
But
loves
on
offensive linemen.
Sunday, I noticed Nick Gates just getting beaten like a drum.
Oh, yeah, you notice them when they get blowed up by the defensive lineman.
All right,
Yeah.
And
I
there's
wanna
more
go-
of it. There's more of it coming on Sunday.
I want to go to people that are anti-Sam, but I want to go to the Cindy first because she is a female, and we used to have a ladies first policy. Let's go to Cindy in Springfield. Cindy, what's up?
Hey guys, I'm a faithful listener of you
Thank
guys.
you.
I love you guys.
You're very sweet.
I am on EB's team, so
Right?
at this point, I've been a Redskins/Commanders fan for 30 plus years. I don't think this is a fair sample. 7 games. I just don't.
What does your
So
gut tell
if he
you?
can-
Is he the
if
guy?
He continues to, honestly, I want to give him the whole season.
So you're not sure?
If we go down in flames, then we go down in flames. But at least we could say he has had a fair shot.
Right.
So I'm on
That's
the
reasonable.
team of give Sam Howell a chance more than 7 games. I think it's ridiculous the way we're criticizing him after playing 7 games in
Do you
pros. I think it's
think the
unbelievable.
offensive line has given him the best shot to win? Do you think Bieniemy's
No way.
given him the best
No
chance
way.
to be successful?
No, no to both.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thank
anyways,
you.
I want to give him a chance.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
All right. Let's go to Javel. Javel is, he thinks he's not the guy. Javel, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey,
What's up,
good.
man?
What's up?
Definitely Sam Howell's not the guy. I've been preaching this before the offseason. It was clear, and I believe all the GMs and scouts did the analytics route, and it was proven in what he did in college, where he held the ball extremely too long. He took more sacks than any quarterback in college. He took more unnecessary sacks than anyone in college. And that's, in my opinion, that's something that you either have or you don't have, and he doesn't have it. And what I was screaming about Brissett from the offseason, not saying that Brissett's an all-pro or anything, but he's a better quarterback than Sam Howell, and it's about winning. And Eric Bieniemy isn't going to change his offensive mindset, and that's clear. Sam Howell does not read defenses fast enough. I believe Jacoby Brissett will. He's not putting the receivers in hot situations on certain blitzes and coverages. He's not audibling the shifts of the offensive line, and I believe that's things that Jacoby Brissett could do. It's about winning. And what we saw with Jonathan Allen and his response to the end of the game, the players are getting frustrated, man. And Ron Rivera, he's on a tight rope anyway. He can't keep putting the same product out there because these players are going to rebel against him. Sam Howell has one half to be the quarterback of this team. If he comes out and looks horrible the first half Sunday, Jacoby Brissett will be the quarterback for the rest of the season.
All right,
possible.
Call back.
Let me
call
tell
back
you this,
Monday
though.
when you're wrong.
To defend Sam Howell here, and I do think the analytics, they are what they are, but last year, Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, played 16 games. His passer rating, if you want to go old school, was 88.9. Sam Howell right now is at 85.2. So same ballpark. Now, the QBR was better because right now Sam Howell's QBR is 41.4. 50 is the average. Jacoby Brissett last year was at 62. So it kind of depends on the numbers you look at. Jacoby Brissett had a chance in the preseason, at least according to Ron. Now, he says that every year that there's a competition. He said don't sleep on Jacoby Brissett.
Right.
And
He
we joked
never
about
got
it.
reps
He said
with
he
the one,
remember he
though.
said
I mean, it was a lie.
I know, but he said he had 2 number ones and all that stuff.
I know
He's
it's a lie.
lying. He doesn't
He's
have
lying.
one number
But
one.
all reports were that Sam Howell looked better in the preseason.
Eric, here's your catch-22. I don't think they're going to go to Brissett, and they're going to give Howell the entire season as a referendum to see if he's the guy moving
I don't
forward.
think they're going to automatically give him the whole season either.
But here's the problem. In order to prove your point right,
point?
The fact that these sacks aren't all on Howell, it's
Well, it's obvious. We all know they're not
it's
all.
scheme and it's also it's line.
And it's him.
Yeah, it's a combination. But in order to kind of prove or confirm what you're seeing, you need Jacoby to play, because if Jacoby's getting crushed and if EB2 isn't making the adjustments,
Or, you know what the counter to that is? EB just makes the adjustments. So, in other words, change it up. Make the adjustments. So
That's
you're
true.
saying to change it up by putting Brissett
no.
in and do the same thing.
I'm just saying in order to confirm that the line is awful and that Eric is just not making any kind of in-game adjustments.
That is one way to do it.
Jacoby just to get his head
But
taken off.
Jacoby won't be sacked as much because he doesn't have that flaw, but he'll do other
And
things.
he's been watching on the sideline. Like, he knows if he gets a chance, I'm just going to get sacked 5 or 6 times. I'll throw it away.
But I think also you could see a difference if Bieniemy would change.
But there is a curiosity. I agree with that. I brought that up yesterday, Valdez, that somebody had tweeted us. They were just curious to see what would happen, same game plan, everything, if Jacoby Brissett's on
And
the
I'm not saying put Jacoby in the fourth quarter, because that's just
Right.
that's apples to oranges. Everyone's just dropping back, letting him dink and dunk his way down
no,
the
you
field.
need to. If you want a fair comparison, you probably need to let him play 4 games.
By the way,
So, you
I
know.
think the Patriots, if Sam Howell's under center against the Patriots, because we know what Bill Belichick does, that's going to be a really tough game for Sam
Well,
Howell.
I'm not saying that Howell should lose the starting job for the rest of the year if they have a bad first half on Sunday.
You're
I'm
just saying a spark to try to win the
see
game.
what Brissett can do. Can you get it back in the game?
That's
because,
the Doc Walker.
Yeah, because I
thinking,
think
like,
the rest of
trying
the
to
team
win
is
every single
probably
game.
looking to the coaching staff. So, hey, we got to make an adjustment here. So I'm not saying Howell should lose it forever. I'm just saying if he struggles again in this first half, sack 4 or 5 times, throw JB in there.